Thank you. Thank you very much. Governor Dean, Ms. Herman, Mr. Roosevelt, committee members, my senior senator, Senator Bill Nelson, State Senator Joyner, our committee chairperson, extraordinary committee chairperson, Congresswoman Thurman, and our senior statesman who all Floridians love and admire, Senator Bob Graham. Good morning. I am Congressman Robert Wexler. I have the privilege of representing the 19th Congressional District located in Broward and Palm Beach counties in Florida. I represent a group of Floridians that take their civic responsibility very seriously. And I, too, want to thank the Floridians that are here today that care so passionately about this election. Our Florida Democratic voters are frustrated by the decisions that have been made that diminished our primary. And we today must address this frustration and reconcile with them to improve the climate for Democrats in Florida. The Obama presidential campaign supports a resolution today that will allow the Democratic National Committee, the DNC, to preserve its nominating process and at the same time enable Democrats in Florida to participate in choosing our party's nominee and allow elected delegates from Florida to be represented at the Democratic National Convention. We understand that when the Rules Committee reviewed the Florida primary last year, that the committee was acting in good faith to prevent other states from moving prior to Super Tuesday. We understand the Rules Committee goal of acting to prevent a stampede of states to hold early primaries and thus cause chaos in the previously sanctioned primary schedule. Following a DNC application process, the Rules Committee had selected the states of South Carolina and Nevada to join Iowa and New Hampshire in holding early contests to diversify the beginning of the nominating process to include African Americans, Hispanics, organized labor, and voters in the South and the West. Adding diversity to the early nominating contest was a worthy goal, and this committee is to be commended for selecting Nevada and South Carolina to the early calendar. Florida, too, wanted to add its voice to the early calendar for the sake of our voters, who also wanted to play an important role in the process. I fervently wish that Florida also had chosen to apply to be considered as an early voting state. As a large, diverse, and important state, Florida certainly deserves to play a key role in our nominating process. Unfortunately, our state acted outside the rules of this committee, and you subsequently imposed penalties on our state for moving our primary prior to Super Tuesday. We cannot reverse the fact that this election was held months ago without a compliant delegate selection plan. Both Senator Obama and Senator Clinton pledged not to campaign in Florida, and both agreed at the time that the primary would not count. This contest was not a normal primary election. Senator Obama's decision to respect your rules certainly affected the outcome of the primary in Florida. He was not as well known as Senator Clinton, and not campaigning in the state undoubtedly hurt his vote totals. We must also remember that the presidential candidates were told by this committee that Florida's noncompliance with delegate selection rules meant that the delegate selection and presidential candidate approval process for delegates was non-binding. The Obama campaign respected this Rules Committee policy. I also want to address a canard I have seen in some reports concerning our primary, that Senator Barack Obama was somehow the cause of our state's failure to properly hold a primary during the window for such contests. This is completely untrue. There was ample opportunity during 2007 to consider an alternative nominating process to be held within the approved window, which was encouraged by the DNC and this committee's leadership. But that course of action was not taken. Then, late in the spring of 2008, as the primary season was coming to a close, the possibility of holding a second primary was raised. The Democratic leadership in Florida discussed this possibility, but ultimately rejected it. The entire Democratic United States House delegation from Florida, both supporters of Senator Clinton and supporters of Senator Obama and the uncommitted, issued a public statement calling upon the Florida Democratic Party not to hold a second primary due to strong concern that a hasty election could not be properly implemented under the circumstances. All of us believed that the last thing Florida Democrats needed was to end up before this committee with 2 disputed elections instead of 1. I have here the statement from our House delegation to our state Democratic Party chair, informing her of our unanimous opposition to holding a second presidential primary this year. I'm happy to submit this to the committee if it pleases the chairs. Senator Obama was in no way responsible for this decision by Florida leaders, and I am here today before you to testify to this fact and answer any questions on that subject. Keeping all of this in mind, we must find a way as Democrats, as members of the same political party, seeking to bring change to the ways of Washington to resolve this situation so that Florida may participate in this historic nominating process that will soon come to a close. The standing rules of our party provide for a standard 50% reduction of the pledged delegates from a state whose primary or caucus is scheduled earlier than allowed under the delegate selection rules. This is the identical penalty that is provided for under the National Republican Party rules and was in fact imposed on Florida Republicans. John Osman, our Democratic National Committee man from Florida, has petitioned this committee to reconsider its decision to increase the standard 50% penalty to a 100% reduction in delegates and to reinstate 50% of the Florida delegation. As the designated representative of the Obama campaign and as an elected representative from the state of Florida, I ask this committee to restore Florida to representation at the Democratic National Convention in accordance with the Osman petition. This will involve This action will involve extra delegates, up to 19 delegates, being awarded to Senator Clinton. Senator Obama should be commended for his willingness to offer this extraordinary concession in order to promote Senator Obama.
Please do as this committee is doing and show respect to all of our speakers here today. Congressman.
Senator Obama offers this concession in